Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of DGS. We are about to press the witnesses on the first testimony right about now, as soon as Naruhodō gets his wits together, at least. Alright, what we witnessed. If memory serves, it happened around 10 p.m., right? Oh, yes, that's right, yes. It was cold enough to freeze you to the bones, yes. And there were 4 passengers, is that correct? Yes, they all boarded at different times at different stops, though, yes. By the way, did none of the passengers get off during the journey? Oh, no, of course not. Not a one, no. So basically, no one fled the carriage after the murder, huh? See, I always take the last bus out every night, Master's orders. Oh, but I always wonder if there's any meaning to going to that sort of trouble. Yes. What do you mean? Shivering in the cold, I take the last bus of the night out, but usually only turn a profit of about 20 pence. A stop at the pub on my way home to warm up is enough to make it disappear. Yes. Oh, poor guy. And you saw it through the carriage's skylight? Yes. If you sit on the upper deck, you have the skylight at your feet. There are lamps lit inside the carriage, so it's quite eye-catching from the upper deck seats. You see, the 2 of them were both wearing hats, so it wasn't actually possible to see their faces, but there can be no question that it was Mr. Naruhodō. How can you be so certain? Mr. Naruhodō is a gentleman of rather small stature. It's quite unlikely that one would mistake someone else for him. The fact of the matter is that when the carriage came to a stop after the murder had occurred, the only ones in the carriage were the deceased victim, Kazumi Naruhodō. There can be no room for dispute. Ugh. You witnessed the very moment that this occurred? Listen, I've just very clearly testified to that fact. Or do you have some sort of problem with this banker's statement? No, that's not what I... This is no good. He completely believes in what he says. Witness, would you mind testifying in a bit...
Your Honor!
You're number 3, aren't you? Is something the matter?
My gut has already come to a clear decision.
What do you mean?
To be honest, I can't stand those aristocratic twats. They're always up to something underhanded behind the scenes. That little old geezer is the murderer. You can't pull the wool over my eyes. There's no need to hear anything further. That's what I think.
Hold it! I was just about to say that very thing! As the head juror, it's my duty to lead everyone else down the right path.
Guys? We haven't finished with the cross-examination! What the heck's going on? It seems that this is the juror's decision. White signifies not guilty, black signifies guilty. When each of them registers their conclusion, they will launch a fireball into the giant heavenly scales as we just saw. Because this totally existed in Victorian, London. So if that giant set of scales tips all the way to black, that let's do our best to ensure that it doesn't come to that. Ugh, as if I needed any more pressure on me. The juror's decision has just fluctuated. Now then, defense, you may continue your cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. This is too much. Oh, lady first. You say you saw the knife. You must mean the upper deck, right? Yes, that's right. I was sitting on the upper deck. That smaller man and the victim were definitely sitting side by side. I was brainstorming new hat designs as I gazed at the cityscape. Then, flip! I glanced casually into the carriage of the skylight, and that's when... The victim's stomach... There was a knife slicing into it. What's this? That must have been a truly frightening scene. Crap. The juror's suspicion seems to have grown stronger. They all seem to be quite suspicious of him. If you were able to present some sort of proof or... Witness. Yes, sir. The knife you saw. It was this one, correct? Ah, yes, that's precisely it. Could that be... Yes, this was the knife used to stab the victim in the stomach. That's quite a sizable knife. On the hilt of the murder weapon, a certain initial has been engraved. M. I seem to recall having seen that somewhere before. It can't be. M. Bangodal. What a coincidence. It appears that the self-proclaimed Star of London is somewhat lacking in prudence. Oh no, but there are plenty of people that M could refer to. For example, right, there's the victim, Mortar. This looks a bit too pricey for an impoverished mason to afford. It's incredibly likely that the murder weapon belonged to the defendant. Certainly, this is a fact that we mustn't overlook. Murder weapon knife. A rather large knife used to stab the victim in the stomach. Highly decorated and elegant. It appears quite pricey. Thanks!
Your Honor, if you will pardon my intrusion.
Oh, you're juror number 2, aren't you? What is it?
As a man who was such a perfect embodiment of a British gentleman, I wish to give the defendant the benefit of the doubt. However, I feel that it must be stated that it is a servant's duty to accept harsh truth.
Please, wait just...
I will dispose of this rubbish at once.
But...
My apologies, but I prefer things to be clean.
Hold it.
Oh my god, please stop!
I have recorded every exchange here so far and thought it over logically. At this time, I feel I have come to a final conclusion.
Not again. This makes 4 people who have registered their vote for guilty. Only 2 remain. What am I supposed to do? Drawing new information out of the witnesses is only doing more and more damage to my case. However, since we currently don't know anything about the incident, we require information. No choice but to prepare for the fireballs to be launched and keep on pressing. Our opportunity to launch a counterattack will come at some point. We must hold on to that belief. But... Understood. I'll give it a try for the time being. There's no time for me to give in. For now, I just have to calm down and listen to the testimony one more time. I'm afraid to even press this now, all things considered. What exactly did you see? Yes, well, the passenger was collapsed on the floor of the carriage. That passenger you speak of, no doubt refers to the mason, the victim. And then the passenger took the knife in his hand like this. This passenger you speak of, no doubt refers to the defendant, Kazumi Mangoda. Then I saw him stab the fallen passenger, like so. What?
Pardon me, Your Honor.
You're juror number 5, so you also wish to...
I'm employed as an overseer that manages the London Carriage Guild. So you could say that a murder committed in a carriage is one of the things in this world that I simply cannot allow to go unpunished. I can't register a hasty judgment, thinking that I decided to see how things progressed, but... I've heard enough. A horse that started running cannot be stopped.
No, there's always a way to calm a horse and...
Run like the wind, Silverblaze. Soar over that pub.
This isn't looking good. This is really bad.
As the overseer of the Carriage Guild, I believe Beppo's testimony.
Boss? Oh, boss. This brings the number of jurors registering a decision of guilty to 5. Only the old lady left. Madam, what are your thoughts?
Yes, whatever about?
Oh my god. Have you been listening to the testimonies given by the witnesses thus far?
Yes, I listened very carefully.
In that case, is there any particular reason why you haven't registered a decision?
Normally at this time of day, my routine is to go to the neighborhood park and knit. It's a small and very charming park by the name of Magundal Park. You see, he donated that park to bring smiles to the faces of the citizens of London. A person who would do such a good deed is simply not the sort of person who would stab someone.
She's right. Mr. Mangadal always making donations to help improve London. Yes, the very idea that he would stop someone, it makes no sense. Mama, let's go to Mangadal Library to read a picture book and then go home. Whoa. You okay, game? It would seem that London is full of those who are unaware of it's being weird. Of Kazumi Mangadal's true identity. Whoa! Well, that was a trip! I don't even know what just happened there! Oh my god, I am never doing another thing from these people. Anyway. Of Kazumi Mangadal's true identity. Also, if that's Baroque's theme, give it to me! What are you talking about? The defendant's true identity? The philanthropist Kazumi Mangadal. A celebrity with a large enough fortune to purchase all of London. We must ask ourselves, where did he come by such a fortune? His true profession is as a moneylender, and an exceedingly malicious one at that. Eh?
Eh?
He lends illegally obtained funds to those in desperate need, and then proceeds to rob them of everything they possess. That is how Kazumi Mangodal amassed his fortune.
But I had no idea.
What say you now, madam? You never question it. This man who has enough money to buy the whole of London. Naturally, he also owns his own carriage. So then why would he need to bother riding the omnibus? You can't mean... The victim was an impoverished mason. He had borrowed quite a sizable sum of money. Naturally, the one who lent him this money was the defendant, Kazumi Mangodal. And the evening that the murder occurred was his repayment day. What's this? This impoverished mason's house had been repossessed, and he hadn't a single shilling with which to repay his loan. Finally, the pitiful mason had even his life stolen from him in the end. All by the cruel and heartless philanthropist, Kazumi Mangodal. I am never getting anything done by these same people again, because holy shit, this is shit. I can't believe this. I haven't even had this done for very long, and it's already being really bad with me. No way. May I say one thing? Susato-san. The victim borrowed money from Mangodal-sama. Do you possess any evidence to indicate that? Oh, the chalice is here! I beg your indulgence for my crude fondness for partaking of the Lord's chalice in this garden of judgment. There it is! Lord Von Zeke's Lord's chalice! What's all this there it is talk? What an unexpectedly pleasant feeling this is. I heard tell that ladies of the Orient were brave, but to think that bravery ran this deep. I believe it's only natural for legal aid. Regrettably, that bravery is not but recklessness. This is what you might call a customer ledger, containing the people that the defendant had lent money to. Victim's name appears to be recorded quite clearly inside it. That's... In addition to accepting this ledger into evidence, I beg your indulgence, as I so impolitely offer a drink to the wonders of the Orient. In addition to the admirable drink offering, the court accepts the ledger into evidence. A list of customers who had borrowed huge sums of money from the defendant. The victim had also borrowed 20 guineas. Whoa! For what? 20 guineas? The victim did have quite a sizable debt then. Must be from interest. And in order to collect on it, Mangodal took everything he had. Oh.
In that case, it seems that I've been fooled.
You knit that sweater! Unfortunately, that's simply the type of man the defendant is.
It's such a lovely park, and yet what a horrible man. But perhaps this is for the best.
Please, hold off your decision just a little while.
I can't forgive this.
Welp. Oh, that's game over, guys. We're done. There was no case 4 or 5. We're done. Oh no, Ryūnosuke. The final decision was just registered. According to this book on British jurisprudence, in the event that all jurors register a decision of guilty, the trial at that point comes to a halt, and the judge hands down his verdict. That's what it says. Verdict. But the encyclopedia entry continues. However, if the defense... The court has just received the final juror's decision. Allow me to express my respect towards the jurors for coming to such a swift and just decision. In accordance with British jurisprudence, and this time the trial will come to a close. At this time, I will hand down my verdict at once. I hope there are no objections. Naruhodō! Susato-san, could you tell me just one last thing? Yes? Just a second ago, you started to say something. It was something from the British jurisprudence. However, if the defense... What is it that comes after that? Right. One moment, please. In the event that all jurors register a decision of guilty, the trial at that point comes to a halt, and the judge hands down his verdict. However, if the defense wishes, they have the right to make a final appeal to the 6 jurors. Or as they call it, the closing argument. Final appeal? A final appeal, you say? Tell me, that encyclopedia of British jurisprudence, just how old is it? Judging by the state of the binding, it may have been published as many as 50 years ago. Current edition does not include that. It is a procedure that has been lost in the tides of our country's considerable legal history. That's all your final appeal amounts to. But... Susato-san, just what is this thing anyway? This final appeal? Right. One moment, please. I will look up the details right away. To insist on a right that you don't even know the meaning of. That's just like the Japanese. Excuse you? Has nothing to do with being Japanese! I understand now, Naruhodō-sama. It seems that we can attempt to persuade the jurors. Persuade? Then, in the event that the persuasion results in the repeal of their decisions, the trial must continue. That's what it says. Repeal their decisions. Defense attorneys of old invoked their right to final appeal and persuaded the jurors. However, at some point it became a mere formality and finally disappeared altogether. And what caused that to happen? Because it was meaningless. A decision, once registered, cannot be repealed. These days, there is not a lawyer in existence who would attempt to invoke that right. However, there is also no document in existence stating that such a process was abolished. Oh, she made a point. What's this? In other words, though it may have been forgotten, it is not yet extinct. Your thoughts, Naruhodō-sama. The final appeal. The final right available to us. Invoke that right and forget about it. Invoke that right! My feet's falling asleep. Ugh. The defense will invoke its right to a final appeal. Of course he's gonna be like, no. London, England's imperial city is currently said to be the center of the world, as well as the world's largest city. As such, its court seeks the most expedient and high-quality trials. The final appeal is the most detestable of evil practices our system of law has ever given birth to. But a right is a right. For it to have been permitted in the first place, it must have been seen as meaningful. The court grants the defense's request. The court will now hear the final appeal. What foolishness. Are you ready, jurors?
I'm not sure. This wasn't written on the juror's guide we were given.
We will start by having all of you state the grounds of your decisions.
Grounds?
The reason you deem the defendant to be guilty.
This is awfully sudden.
I've never heard of such a thing.
That's not my style.
The jurors are confused. It seems as though they've never experienced anything like this before. Final appeal. A method of defense no one has ever used. It could be that this could really be my big chance. Now then, you 6 jurors, the court orders you to state your reasons and grounds for determining the defendant's guilt. And we're gonna learn what the jurors are gonna think about in the next video, because I need to figure out what is wrong with my streaming equipment, because holy shit, I promise you this is not what it's like. I don't know what's wrong with it. I gotta fix it somehow, and I apologize for all the weird skippings, but there were a lot of issues that were happening in the back. So hopefully the next video won't be so weirdly skipping around.
Yes, yes, yes. No, I think not, actually.